Just FYI, I just fired up the YouTube live, so stay on mute.
David.
We're live on YouTube, just so everybody knows. How you doing, John?
Doing well.
We're live on YouTube, just so everybody knows.
Echo.
Yeah, I've got 3 computers in my office as the borough administrator / IT coordinator. I don't see you in the waiting room here. Are you
Are we ready for this?
Yep, and we're on live
ready?
YouTube.
What?
I said, are you ready for this?
As ready as I can be.
This is an easy one for me, Sandra. I've had
Oh, yeah.
a couple
For you.
budgets that I voted against, so this is like an easy one.
Okay, good, good.
got Steve coming on.
Hi, Steve. You're muted.
How are you?
Good, good, good.
How's everybody?
Good. Start letting everybody in at this time.
Any bets today? David, you want to make a double or nothing?
Okay, Mayor, everybody's in. It's 6:30 p.m.
Before we get started, everyone, please mute your microphones, please. Thank you. And welcome everyone to the Mayor and Council meeting of June 9th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America
and to the republic
for which it
stands,
stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty,
liberty, justice for all.
Please remain standing. As many of you know, for our last 5 meetings, we've been taking a moment to remember the thousands of lives lost in New Jersey to the coronavirus pandemic, a number which is now over 12,000. I would like to also ask that we take a moment of silence for our nation, that the senseless murder of George Floyd, who was put to rest today, brings about real solutions to racism in our country, and that the phrase that we just said out loud, with liberty and justice for all, finally becomes an actual reality and not just words. Thank you.
I wish to announce that the 48-hour notice as required under the Open Public Meetings Act was emailed to the Asbury Park Press, the Coast-Star, and the Coaster on January the 9th of 2020. The copy has been placed on the bulletin board in the borough office, and that a copy has been filed with the borough clerk. Mr. Fennell? Randy?
Waving his hand.
Okay. Mr. Gubatose?
Here.
Mr. Sacksmith?
Also waving.
Yeah, he's there.
Mr. Weber?
Here.
Mayor Engelstad?
Here, first item of business is the approval of minutes from the May 26th council meeting. Make a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Fennell? Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes, the next up for approval is the special council meeting minutes from June 3rd. Make a motion to approve those minutes. Is there a second?
Second. Hey, but Mr. Mayor, can I
Yeah.
get both Tim and Randy are on screen. We don't hear them. I have a feeling they're being recorded as not voting. But
John,
they're-
actually, I can see them waving, so I see them.
no problem. Just
We're all
wanted to make
good.
sure. I didn't know if you had
Thank you.
video, Erica. So, never mind.
Oh,
So
that's okay.
I seconded that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Bennell? Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith? Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes, and finally, for approval is the June 3rd executive session minutes. Make a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Bennell? Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith? Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Now it's time for the administrator's report. David?
Thank you, Mayor, Council, to the public. Tonight I'll be covering code enforcement, beach operations, Borough Hall, the Newark Avenue concession, and the borough's website. Code enforcement. On May 28th, we had 12 properties were cited for tall grass and weeds. 6 properties complied and 6 properties were issued summons. On June 3rd, we had 13 properties that were cited for tall grass and weeds. 11 properties complied and 2 properties were issued summons. Today, a property was being cited for a camper in the front yard, which we all know is not legal. And just a heads up to those in the apartments, we will be focusing on apartment buildings over the next 2 weeks and making sure that they are well within our code. Our beach has operated very well over the past 2 weekends, averaging about 7,000 beachgoers a day on Saturday and Sunday. Mask and social distancing, although not 100% participation, but a fairly good percentage of compliance with the borough's recommendation. Bathrooms are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, and they are fully staffed with a DPW employee assigned to clean and an attendant to assist with social distancing and bathroom capacity. The borough is looking into bathroom trailers, which can hold up to anywhere between 3 to 10 stalls to assist in relieving the anticipated long lines as the summer days get warmer and warmer, and we expect more individuals at the beach. Borough Hall will be reopening to the public on Monday, June 15th. That is next Monday coming up. The building will undergo daily cleaning and disinfecting, which will follow the CDC guidelines and the use of EPA-approved disinfectants. Employees will be wearing a mask and maintain social distancing as we provide essential services while protecting ourselves and the public. We look forward to seeing you all back at Borough Hall next Monday. The borough will be going out for a second time to publicly bid the Newark concession on June 11th, 2020. That's this Thursday, and responses are due by Wednesday, July 1st, 2020, and the minimum bid is for $15,000. Please spread the word. Our website, the borough has contracted Civic Plus LLC for $3,500 for an annual fee to provide website hosting and design. The website will undergo an entire makeover so that it communicates with our residents and business owners and the general public for more effective and efficient process. We look forward to the new makeover of the website and having everyone focus on the website for their communication and information, and then secondarily, the social media outlets that we have out there in various forms. Mr. Mayor, Council, that is my administrative report for tonight. Thank you.
Any questions from council for the borough administrator?
Yes, indeed, Mr. Mayor, if I can. Thank you for that, Mr. Brown. I have a couple questions, and I don't know if it's too late to change any policies up at the beach, but we're not requiring people to wear masks to enter the bathroom, to the restroom, correct?
The entire mask situation is a recommendation as per the executive order. We
Okay.
would like for everyone to wear them, but we can't make them wear them.
Well, I'm hearing from other towns are requiring that. So because they're going inside of a building and it's a borough-owned building, can't we require that? I mean, outside, I understand it's a recommendation outside. not a requirement, but inside, can't we require that?
I'm going to refer to the chief if he's available in the courtroom there.
Well, just as a point of reference, I have seen that requirement in some of the boardwalks I've been walking on.
Yeah, I don't know how we would enforce that. It's not covered in the EO at all. So we strongly suggest that you wear these masks, but I don't believe we can absolutely mandate it. As I pointed out, there's issues regarding health and respiratory problems, things like that. You really can't do that. And that's why the state doesn't do it.
Right, but as the mayor said, they're doing it in other towns. I'm just wondering if we're paying somebody to sit by the bathrooms to ensure distancing and whatever else that person's doing, if the town put up a sign that said, you need a mask to come in here, I think we get much greater compliance. Certainly not 100%, Chief. I understand what you're saying. A few people out there can't wear masks. But I think we just get a lot more compliance everywhere. So I'd like to look into that if other people agree, just throwing it out there.
If it's a matter of putting a sign up saying mask is required, I wouldn't object to that. But the problem becomes when someone says, I don't have a mask, I'm not going to wear a mask, and I'm going in there. And that's when you have the issue.
Okay, understood. One more question for Mr. Brown. And if we have to take this discussion offline, but I thought I'd ask it in the public. With that Newark Ave concession, is there any situation where we would consider a bid that includes a percentage of sales? I know there's some folks out there that were kind of interested, but nobody knows what the rest of the summer is going to be like. So I'm just wondering, would we entertain that? And if other people have opinions about that, we could talk about it. But you know, we came up with zero on what, $20,000. So we're putting it out there with $15,000. I'm already ready for, you know, what's coming after that.
Quick answer is yes, we can entertain that as per the RFP that's going out. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Any other questions from council for Borough Administrator? Okay. Hearing none, now is the time for public comments on agenda items. And there is a 5-minute limit on comments. So if you could, for David's benefit, there is a button in the upper right-hand corner where you can wave, and he will acknowledge that you would like to speak.
I see Paul Nishamkin waving his hand.
Okay.
You got to unmute, Paul.
Actually, I was not waving my hand. I was trying to adjust something on the screen. Sorry.
Okay, not a problem. I see Mr. TJ Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that I'm very happy with the resolutions that are on here today for the appointments of the lifeguards and the badge checkers, and also the resolution for the pay increase for Public Works. I mean, it's great to see these things in writing for the public to know who's working for the town and that it's all done out front. I don't recall this in the past, but I do find it very, very refreshing. And I did enjoy your report, Mr. Brown, and I look forward to that now every 2 weeks. I hope that's a regular happening. And
So, yeah, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Mayor. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me just address your first item. That was a strong requirement recommendation by our new borough administrator and CFO, and we're happy to make that change.
Great. It's much appreciated and long awaited. That's all I have right now, Mayor. Thank you.
David?
I don't see any other hands electronically raised. I don't see anybody waving. So I would move on to the next item there. Wait. Somebody with an iPhone is waving. There's no name. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, there I go.
There we go.
Okay, my name is Teresa Tui. I live at 406 Monmouth Avenue, and I'm very distressed that I cannot buy beach badges. I mean, the social distancing thing, I understand, but after all of these people who were protesting this weekend, and there were no restrictions on them. I've been living here for 37 years, paying taxes, being quarantined, and then when I go out to buy a beach badge, there are none available.
Okay. First of all, we're strictly limited to public comments on the agenda item, but I don't want to make you sit through the rest of our meeting, but we are selling deli badges.
Well, I need season badges.
Okay, well, we have liquidated our supply twice now. I think in a normal summer, we probably sell a little bit under 7,000, and we have sold, David, correct me if I'm wrong, 9,500 or 9,000?
Yeah, that's a good number.
Okay. And we, through every method available, through social media, through reverse 911, through website, we did everything we could to publicize when those badges would be available. So I apologize that that's happened to you, but you do have the option for daily badges.
Well, that's not too helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. David, anyone else?
That's it, Mayor.
Okay. So we'll move on to item 10, and at this time,
Mayor, I think Mayor, I'm sorry. I think Mr. Coman was trying to come back. You got to unmute yourself, Mr.
Are
Coman.
there going to be any, is there going to be any presentation on the municipal budget or a time for the public to speak about it? Because right now, I don't really know a whole lot about it.
well, so yeah, there will be a presentation, and obviously folks can comment at the regular scheduled time, which is not too far behind that.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you very much, Mayor.
All right, I'm going to try again. So now I'd like to open the hearing with regards to, open the public hearing with regards to ordinance 2020-05. An ordinance amending chapter 450 zoning of the borough's revised general ordinances to clarify that all recreational marijuana and or medical cannabis establishments, cultivation facilities, testing facilities, and production facilities are prohibited uses within the borough of Bradley Beach. So this has been introduced by mayor and council and was approved without a comment by the planning board. So now it comes back to mayor and council for final hearing and adoption. So let me make a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatese?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. So at this time, we'll follow the same procedures. If you'd like to make a comment with regards to this ordinance, please let David know.
Mr. Coman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very happy that this is coming to fruition. It took a long time since the big public hearing we had last year, but I think Mr. Cannon did a very nice job on the ordinance, and I think it does, send the message to what we're really looking for in our downtown. And I'm happy that this would get approved tonight. So I hope the council will vote in that direction. Thank you, sir.
And Greg, while we're still having this hearing, could you walk us through what impact, if any, a successful referendum how that might impact us?
Sure. So I want to start by mentioning that I'm aware there was a lot of discussion about this ordinance last year, and the ordinance last year, as we discussed at the introduction of this ordinance, was tailored as a police regulation that was essentially a prohibition. And so a referendum, I know there was a lot of discussions about what effect a referendum would have back then. On a prohibition ordinance, the referendum obviously would have more or less invalidated the entire thing. So as we discussed during the introduction of this ordinance contemplates a regulation through land use. Now, the specific answer to the mayor's question is, how will a referendum affect this ordinance that we currently have before us for public hearing? The answer is, we still don't know. However, the form of this ordinance is in land use. So let's say there's a referendum and the future marijuana rules are codified, and for some reason that law contains a provision that all municipal zoning restrictions are hereby invalidated, which the state has the power to do in certain instances, then it would invalidate our ordinance. However, I find that as an attorney of the state for a number of years, I find that to be highly unlikely, especially given that the local governing body here has authority to regulate and continues and has since 1947 the ability to regulate other quote unquote vice uses like liquor, tattoo parlors, gentlemen's clubs, and things of that nature. And so I don't anticipate that the referendum will have a substantial or material effect on the borough's ability to regulate this area of land use with respect to marijuana uses. However, there may be certain restrictions, and there actually may be codified restrictions not within a certain number of feet. Like no municipality can allow it within a certain number of feet of a school or a playground or things like that to address concerns that will assuredly arise in the legislature. So in short, I've crafted this ordinance so that hopefully the referendum won't have any effect on it. But to the extent that it does, we may, we'll modify it accordingly to make sure it complies with state law when the time arises. But generally, we've done this in a different fashion this year to try to avoid a substantial or material effect by the referendum and maintain local control, which was the idea and my understanding of what this governing body wanted.
So Greg, let me just say, you've done an excellent job on this. I appreciate it very much. David, any other comment?
I don't see anybody else, Mayor.
Okay. So without any further comment, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and adopt the ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. The consent agenda has two items. The first is the bill list. I'll make a motion to approve the bill list. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Item B on the consent agenda is a resolution authorizing a beach locker refund. Make a motion to approve that refund. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution 2020-134 is the appointment of summer seasonal lifeguards. Make a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution 2020-135 is the appointing of summer seasonal employees for the Department of Public Works. Make a motion to approve that resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution 2020-136 is the appointment of summer seasonal special police officers. Make a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution 2020-137 is the appointment of summer seasonal cashiers. Make a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. And the next one is 2020-138, the appointment of summer seasonal gate guards. Make a motion to approve that resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes, Resolution 2020-139 is the appointment of Community Center Task Force members. And those new members will be Frank Caponegro, Bridget Devine, and Paula Gentempo. Make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-139. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Vanel?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatese?
I'm just questioning, do we have the correct spelling on Bridget's last name?
No, it should be Devane, which I believe I did change it on the website. Gary, I don't know if I gave you an updated resolution. I apologize.
Well, I apologize too. I should have known that. My fault.
In that case, I will vote yes.
Mr. Weber?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. And Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution 2020-140 is awarding a contract to Host Compliance for short-term rental compliance service. Make a motion to approve that resolution. Is there a second?
Second, but I have a question, Mr. Mayor, if I can.
Sure.
For whoever knows the answer to this. Does the code enforcement office know this is coming? Like, is a lot of this work going to fall on their lap? I know we've been talking about it for a while, but I just don't remember interfacing with them and saying, hey, we're doing this thing. Dave?
Yes, they absolutely know. Had a couple of meetings with Mr. Nelson, and Katie sat in with me on the webinar.
Terrific. Thank you so much. I believe I seconded this, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Mr. Vanel?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatese?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution 2020-141 is the awarding of the lease for the rental of Second Avenue concession at Oceanfront and Second Avenue. And David, before we vote on this, could you just give us your understanding of when the leasee expects to start operations?
I'll give my best guess, Mayor, based on my conversations with the leasee subsequent to tonight's approval of this resolution. Second Avenue LLC will take over starting tonight, October 9th through October 31st to 2024. He plans on putting significant amount of tens of thousands of dollars into the location, and I don't think he will be open until then. My best guess would probably take him the next 30 to 45 days to ramp up to where he would want to be. I would hope that maybe that he could be in place by the 4th of July weekend.
Okay, so I've been working with the Business Community Alliance because it's very disconcerting to me right now that we just have one viable food option on the entire boardwalk. So I have received expressions of interest from eight restaurants in town that provide delivery services, and they are all willing to go in together on a large banner or signage that would be placed on that building temporarily on the front and the back, done by one vendor, one sign vendor, so there's a uniform appearance. But what those signs would have are the menus and the phone numbers of these carryout restaurants such as Vic's and Finn's and Darcy's and Pancho Wancho's and a number of them. And so we want to make sure that folks know that there are a lot of restaurants in town that would love to have their business with their delivery. And David, correct me if I'm wrong, there's or Chief, you might correct me, there's a dedicated parking spot there for the concession. So the delivery vehicles can use that spot until such time that the lessee takes over. So they're very excited, the restaurants are, to have that opportunity. It's no cost to us. That's something that they would bear. So we will make sure that our beachgoers know that they have other options that can deliver great food to them in a short period of time. So make a motion to approve resolution 2020-141. Is there a second?
I will second it, but I also have questions again, Mr. Mayor, if I can, for David, I guess. do we know what he's investing all this money, you said, in, I guess, inside, equipment inside? Do we know what it needs? I mean, I don't really know what we own and what he would add. And do you have?
Oh, there's currently a hood in there owned by the previous owner, which is for sale, and she has a price tag on that, so he'll have to either purchase that or she'll have to come in and remove it. And then there were several pieces of equipment that he wanted to do. I don't think his menu's set yet. He was kind of fluctuating on the menu.
Okay.
So there is going to be various different equipment that he said that he needed to put in and spruce the place up.
So you think 30 days from now, and you're hoping 4th of July weekend?
Yeah, that's my best guess, and I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow after you guys approve this resolution. I'll have more information.
And did you say till October 31st?
Of 2024, this is a 5-year.
Okay,
agreement.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
But do we have a set time of the season that it can be open, and do we have a set time of the day? Like, what do we have operating hours? Closed down at whatever, like dark.
Yeah, that's in the agreement. I'm going to guesstimate. I think our regular normal is from May 1st to like October 15th, October 31st.
Okay.
Normal summer season, and then normal hours, which I don't know by heart, so I'm not even going to take a stab at that. But
that's fine.
Nothing outside of any ordinance in the borough.
Okay, thanks. That's all I need. So I think I seconded. Thanks for that.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution 2020-142, we hope this is the last one we'll have to do, is the authorizing of a temporary budget appropriation until we have fully passed a permanent budget. Sandy, did you want to give us any more information about this?
As you said, Mayor, standard procedure, we need to put.
Sandy, you went back on mute.
Sorry. Is that
There you
better?
go.
Yeah, we can.
So we're doing this temporary budget appropriation resolution. We may actually have another one for the meeting of June 23rd because the budget will not be formally adopted until at least July 14th. So we may have another one of these before then. See how it goes.
All right. So I will make a motion to introduce, to pass Resolution 2020-142. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Okay. With regards to Resolution 2020-143, I'm going to ask Sandra Rice, our CFO, to walk us through the introduction of the 2020 municipal budget. Sandy?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So what I've planned to do tonight is to actually share my screen the way we had done so in one of the prior budget meetings that we had. I've prepared just a simple overview of the budget. I can certainly entertain any questions, but tonight is the introduction of the budget. The public will have the opportunity to obtain copies of the introduced budget available at Borough Hall. You can contact Erica, our Borough Clerk. In light of COVID, I would like to provide the public with a PDF copy of the budget. It's just easier to be able to email that, and that can come through Erica. If the public so wishes, we can certainly put a copy of the budget in the mail. The copies will definitely be available to everybody who wants one. So I'm going to try to share my screen right now. Says the host has disabled screen sharing, David.
Doesn't sound good, David.
I didn't set it up that way. How about now, Sandy?
Okay, can everybody see my screen?
You're good.
Yes.
You have before you the 2020 municipal data sheet that are known as the state budget form. It is the introduced budget for tonight's meeting. I'm just going to take you through some of the highlights of the budget, and I would welcome counsel. Our auditor is also on the call. I would welcome, the auditor to jump in at any time, please, and offer up any information that you so choose. I'm going to start with sheet 30. The reason I went to this sheet first is because I wanted to show you the bottom line. Last year's total appropriations for the municipal budget were $9,282,328.62. You can see we have an increase this year of $9,850,248.92. To just kind of explain some of those increases, it has been the wish of this governing body to kind of move some of the appropriations that have been normally allocated to the sewer utility back into the current fund where the governing body believes that they belong. So some of those expenditures that normally lied within the sewer utility are now allocated in the current fund budget, and have them outlined as $150,000 in salary and wages that were normal current fund salary and wages that just happened to be split between the sewer and the beach utility. We've moved them now out of the sewer and back into the current fund. In addition to that, $80,000 in healthcare costs that were allocated in the sewer now came back to the current fund. We've had an increase in the current fund of $70,000 in debt service, $90,000 increase in public employee retirement system and police and fire retirement systems. And then also, as I've mentioned in previous budget workshops, we are currently paying for 2 full-time administrator salaries and health benefits and the like. That amount, the increase in the 2020 budget for that former employee amounts to about $180,000. So the increase in the appropriations over last year total roughly $570,000. I just wanted everyone to understand why we had, what the reason for those increased appropriations were. I'm just going to jump over to the revenue side real quick. One of the other wishes of the governing body was that we use less surplus than we did last year. You can see I decreased the amount of surplus anticipated by $100,000. Doesn't sound like a whole heck of a lot, and I understand the governing body's wishes to get that number lower. In light of COVID-19, we've also seen some decreases in some of our normal revenues as well that have to be taken into consideration. You can see under municipal court, I've cut the anticipated revenue down to only $80,000. We know that in light of COVID-19, we didn't have a lot of police activity during the month of April. Courts were shut down and the like. So we're being very cautious here about anticipating too much money in court revenue, and other types of revenues like that have also been adjusted for COVID-19. These adjustments equate to roughly $156,000 in decreased revenue this year. We would normally have seen if this were a normal season. So all of these revenues have been adjusted, for those reasons. One of the things that we do have here, and I can also show you this on the sewer utility side, is that we're anticipating sewer utility surplus of $200,000. We're doing that this year to help us offset some of the decreases in revenues, and also realizing the fact that for the first time, we're now bringing appropriations over from the sewer. So we're using this to kind of help us get this budget balanced. The end result of these increased appropriations to the budget mean that let me just get to the right page. Sorry. The amount to be raised by taxation to support the municipal budget went from $6,433,316.43 to now $7,009,039.58. There was also an increase in the library tax this year. So you can see that the amount that we need to support the municipal budget is increased by $575,723. One thing that I think that should be pointed out is that, and I don't want to speak, and I'm not trying to kind of hide the fact, we are going to see a tax increase to the tune of about 9%. But having said that, the municipal tax rate, the amount of the rate that's charged for your taxes on the municipal level, has been held steady. We have had an increase in the assessed valuation of property in Bradley Beach. So because of that increased evaluation, the average homeowner will see an increase to their taxes. We've kind of calculated what the average assessed value in Bradley Beach is, and that comes in around $663,000. That homeowner with a home valued at that dollar amount will see a tax increase of about $224 this year. In addition to that, though, I think it's worth mentioning that in our sewer utility budget, and I'm just going to flip over to that utility budget real quick. You can see that under sewer utility rents, we actually realized $1,980,000 last year in sewer rents. You can see that we've brought that number down to $1,640,000 this year. That's because this governing body has intentions on lowering your sewer rates. So I think that the hope is that if the governing body can, lower your rates for your sewer rents, it will help to offset the amount of increase that you'll pay in property taxes. So I think the governing body has some good, forethought with regard to, homeowners and the burden that this budget will put on them. Overall, under the sewer utility, we have a decrease in the total sewer utility budget of about $35,000 over from last year's budget. And likewise, under the beach utility budget, we've actually seen, get to the right page here, sorry. Under the beach utility budget, we are seeing an increase over last year's budget of about $230,000 over last year's budget. And that pretty much is because we have increased expenses for COVID-19 as far as having more janitorial service out there. We talked in the council meeting earlier about, increased staff at the bathrooms, and also minimum wage increases for all the staff and the lifeguards and so forth. So we have some increases in salary and wages under the beach utility. And actually, we're anticipating a fewer operating expenses. One of the other highlights of the beach utility budget, and we have discussed this in previous budget workshops is that as one of the residents of Bradley Beach said that she can no longer buy a season beach badge. We've sold out of all of our beach badges, our seasonal beach badges. We know that money that we made accounts for roughly $800,000 in beach badge revenue. The remainder of that revenue has to be made up with dailies. As you can see, we're anticipating the same number we did last year. To help us make up for that in light of COVID-19, the governing body has recently increased the daily rate from $10 to $13 per daily beach badge. So we're hoping that increase will help us to realize the revenue that we need to balance this beach budget. That is the basic overview of this budget. I would, as I said, welcome anyone, council members to weigh in. As I said, the borough auditor is on the call. If he would like to say anything about this budget, because he does have to sign off on it. So I'll go take your lead.
Yeah. Sandy, I have a question, more a little bit of a comment, and that is how much of this, I think sometimes with an increase in spending like this, you went through it pretty well, but there's sometimes an assumption that we're just buying a whole lot more stuff, and stuff can somewhat be described as capital expenditures, and we really do not have any in this budget with regards to CapEx. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm just going to go to that page right now, Mayor. I hope you all can see it. Last year, we had quite a few capital expenditures, as you can see by my screen here. Some of the money was actually not spent last year, and we lost quite a bit of it to reserve. This year, we've cut our capital expenditures with the exception of some purchases that were made because of COVID-19. The fire company purchased an aeroclave system to be able to sanitize vehicles and so forth. And so that is appropriated in our budget. Also, the police purchased a message board to be able to get the word out to the people, and that is considered a COVID-19 expense. We may eventually get reimbursed for these items, but right now, upon introduction and probably adoption of the budget, we're not guaranteed that revenue. So right now, we're seeing these things as an appropriation to the budget with no offsetting revenue.
And do you recall the approximate dollar amount of the, for lack of a better term, the wish list that came to us from Police Department and Public Works?
Yes, I believe that it was somewhere in the range of $350,000 between the two. Okay.
And we still retain the right to do that if indeed something happens and the police console suddenly, it goes on the fritz, but that would be through a bond, and the only saving grace there is that we have extremely low bond rates.
Well, we could do a bond ordinance or a capital ordinance, yes. But we don't have any cash appropriations in the budget for that right now.
I'll give up the floor if anyone else has any questions right now. I have one more question, Sandy, and that is if you could put a dollar amount to the impact of this pandemic. Is that off the top of your head?
So we have come up with a roughly a decrease in revenues with court fees, permits, permit fees, and parking fees. Also, we're looking at just a round number of a decrease in about $156,000 in revenue because of COVID-19. As we begin to see some of our expenses for janitorial services and stuff like that over the summer, to make sure that the bathrooms are sanitized and stuff like that, we're certainly going to have a better idea of what those actual expenditures are. But as I said, we have built in to the beach utility budget some extra money for salary and wages to make sure that we have the staff available to do such tasks.
And if you addressed this earlier, I apologize for making you repeat it, but did we lower our anticipated collection rate due to COVID-19 as well?
So there's a calculation called the Reserve for Uncollected Taxes. The Reserve for Uncollected Taxes is actually an appropriation that lies in the current fund budget. It's right here on sheet 30. When you do the calculation for the Reserve for Uncollected Taxes, you use an assumed, collection rate. And our actual correct collection rate was 98.45%. When I did the calculation for the Reserve for Uncollected Taxes, we used a collection rate of 97.25. That actually calculates this appropriation in the budget here, which is an accounting for an amount for uncollected taxes. So the amount that we used was 97.25%.
And is there a way to calculate what each quarter percent gets?
So I actually have in front of me, Mayor, we had some discussion earlier in the week regarding what the collection was like in light of COVID-19. So I have some numbers in front of me. The amount of, this was just for the second quarter, as of June 1st, which was the extended deadline for payment, we had collected 93.12% of the second quarter taxes. By today, actually, that number jumped up to 94.37. Still much lower collection rate, but I looked at the number as of May 10th, which was the original deadline, to pay second quarter taxes, and we were only at like 70%. So the increase that the governing body approved by resolution to the deadline, bringing it to June 1st, I think sort of helped, in that regard. We're seeing collection rates now in the 90s, but again, certainly not where we're used to seeing here in Bradley Beach.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, John.
Thanks, Al. So, thanks, Ms. Rice. This is great. I appreciate all this. When you talked about the increase in taxes, I just want to reemphasize or get you to reiterate that this is not on someone's total tax bill. This is on the portion of their taxes that we control, the current fund, meaning, what they pay, the portion of their taxes that goes to the school. Well, the school's going to go up, but it's probably not going to go up the same amount. And same for the county and the library and all these other.
Right.
I have that right?
Right. You're right. And I'm just going to share a sheet with you, but it's not part of the, can you still see my screen by any?
It went back to the other, we're not seeing your screen. If you can get that back, and that'd be great.
Hold on a minute.
Do that, I'll talk. So I just don't want somebody to say, oh, I pay $6,000 a year in taxes. I heard 9%. Oh, my taxes are going to go up 9% of $6,000. That's not the case at all. It's, as you said, it's much less. And at the same time, we're not doing it at this moment, but it is every intention of the council to lower the sewer rate. So some of that's going to be offset to the sewer. And if you could speak to net, after the increase on the municipal side, but then the decrease on the sewer side, where do you end up for an average person?
Right. Okay, so I'll speak to that first, and then we'll talk about the sheet that I have up here in front of me. So as I said, we're looking at an average assessed value of a home in Bradley Beach being at $663,000. That household can expect to see a $224 increase in their taxes this year. That's from the municipal, tax increase. If the governing body proceeds with the reduction in the sewer rates, we're looking at reducing that sewer rate to amount to about $340,000 of total sewer rents. So the average homeowner can see a decrease of about $128, per household. So the $224 increase minus the $128 decrease for the decreased sewer rates would amount to an approximate increase of about $96 per household. That's based on the average assessed value of $663,000. What I wanted to point out here on this sheet was the county taxes, the numbers that we know of today, are actually increasing from 0.241 to 0.263. The school, just made my screen really big. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's great.
The school levy went from 0.477 to 0.446. The municipal rate, as I mentioned before, stable, okay? Not to be taken too lightly though, it would be nice if this were a real stable number because of this increase in the net valuation taxable from 1 billion to 1.3 billion to 1.4 billion. The average homeowner in Bradley Beach is going to see a tax increase. Overall, the rate is going from 1.266 to 1.222 this year. So it's really based on the fact that your net valuation increased by quite a significant amount that is accounting for the tax increase.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a couple comments as well.
Sure.
So, Ms. Rice, thank you very much for all of the work you've done pulling all of this together. And while you've given us some really good insights into how the dollars work through the spreadsheet, you're brand new to the borough. And for that, I applaud you for jumping into what's a very difficult situation as we try to, I'll say, get our books straight. But one thing that I want to make sure is clear to all of our residents, at least those listening in and those who might, discuss this post the meeting, is that we are looking at a substantial municipal tax increase, as you mentioned, 9% overall. This is done in part by design because we have long been a little concerned with a practice, I think, that's been carried forward even prior to the current administration, of artificially depressing our taxes by charging a fairly large amount of salaries to the sewer utility. So what you are trying to help us all do is get our accounting to a place where our municipal taxes are more reflective of the costs needed to support the current fund, and our sewer rents are more reflective of the costs needed to reflect sewer costs. So I don't want it to be lost on all of our taxpayers that while the overall tax rate is going up, as you said, the overall taxes will go up about 9%. As we refund or as we reduce the sewer charges that we're currently asking residents to pay, the numbers you shared drop that 9% increase over 5%. So the net effect to our residents before we look at any other expenses would be, as I've calculated, a 3.7% net increase in the taxes after the so-called dollars back refund, whatever we want to call it, that we will achieve reducing the sewer rates. Can you confirm that that math is correct? I think you're muted.
Sorry. I have it rounded up to 4%, but yes, I think we're right in the ballpark there, Al.
So, and that, again, I pulled it out an extra decimal. It is 3.7. That works out to be about $235,000 of a net increase that we're asking our residents collectively to pay. And I'd like to point out that out of that 235,000 net increase, as you mentioned, 156,000 is tied very specifically to COVID-19, that we've lost revenue to the tune of 156,000. That gets us down to a net increase of something order of magnitude $70,000 that that we had to manage collectively. And I think the mayor made a great point when he highlighted the fact that there were significant demands placed upon the council, necessary requests, if you will, from DPW and from our police for capital expenditures that we've actually chosen not to be able to support, at least at this juncture, as we look at the uncertainty of COVID-19. The other thing I want to point out is, as you mentioned, we had ex-employee costs approximating $180,000 in the budget this year that will go away. And I want to commend you for helping us think through a solution that involves, as you mentioned, taking $200,000 of surplus from the sewer utility to help us offset that one-time, well, it's actually going to reoccur a little bit next year as well, but that increase on that ex-employee, we're also taking that out of the tax equation by funding it with some of the sewer surplus. I guess so my message to the public is we've done, in my opinion, a pretty good job of holding costs relatively neutral given the impacts of COVID-19. And COVID-19 isn't done with us yet. As I understand it, we're counting in our budget revenue of $355,000 that historically has been available to us through state aid. And as I understand it, maybe the auditor could speak to this, that state aid is somewhat at risk. And that may be additional dollars that we may not be able to realize this year, depending on how the state positions the funding of that particular money. Can you or our auditor speak specifically?
Councilman, through the mayor, you're exactly right. While you struggled, all the municipalities have struggled trying to get the budget as best as they can get it during this unprecedented time. The state's got the biggest problem. They're looking at somewhere around 10 or 11 or 12 billion dollars in revenue shortfalls, sales tax, lottery, casino, hotel, income tax, corporate tax. And, I guess through the legislature, they've started addressing that by, looking to borrow $5 billion from the Fed through a program. But they've, already come out and cut programs that were funded in the current fiscal budget. And by the way, they've extended the state's fiscal year, which would have normally ended June 30th of this year, to September 30th, to try to kind of offset the extension in filing and paying your New Jersey income tax, similarly to what the federal government did for paying your federal income taxes to July 15th. But they've already cut for this year, going into next year, Chapter 12 college improvement bonding program, which is a program that's been around forever, and it's a 50-50 match with counties and community colleges in the state, where the state picks up half of the debt service on college improvements. Just, I think it was a week or a week and a half ago, the additional state aid that was pledged to school districts, which is about $338 million, was cut, and that goes under the new school aid S2, which started a couple of years ago under this administration. So that money, school districts that had adopted their budgets, that had set their tax levies, were told, now you have to go back and you have to rethink it and reimagine it and deal with these cuts in state aid. There's other conversations going on. I'll call them rumors, scuttlebutt, whatever, but there could be an additional cut to school state aid of up to 10% perhaps. And the energy receipts tax and the Contra aid that municipalities get has been discussed as well as something that may or may not end up being 100% in the state's it's October 1 to June 30, 21 fiscal year budget. So again, I've had a number of conversations with Sandy. I had a call with the finance chair late last week, and this is the best budget I think that you could present to your residents. A combination of getting the appropriation side of the current budget right and adjusting the rates to the sewer to where you believe they should be. Again, on a net basis, dealing with all the things you're dealing with, an ex-employee with a large payout, the virus-related revenues like court, interest on investments, construction fees. I think you've done a heck of a job. And I
One
think
of the
Sandy's,
things,
in her short period of time here, she's really gone. I don't want to say she's dove right into the pool, but she may have gone into the ocean and really got her hands dirty and put something together. I think that is as long as everything else goes. I mean, again, the hardest thing about what we're going through is nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows if your August tax collections are going to mirror your May tax collections or not. So there's a lot of variables that people like me that like to know. I like to know the answer before you ask the question. So we're going in it, eyes wide open. We see what happens, but this budget puts your town in the best position, considering what we're going through.
one other point of clarification I'd like to make for our public is that this this tax increase, this municipal increase, is a target of the council. And thank you for pointing out, the challenges we had in coming up with that number. But it has no direct relationship with our assessment program, because I know our tax assessor is cringing at any mention of the fact that his assessment adjustment, which is approximately 9%, is the same as our tax increase. That's a pure coincidence, because we picked the amount of the taxes that we felt we needed to balance the budget. It happened to be consistent percentage, but the tax, the assessment that all of our residents has undergone is just a basis upon which we allocate taxes. We chose the amount to tax. I just want to be clear, not the assessor.
Okay. Any other council members with comments? Okay. David, with your approval, I'm going to allow for public comment at this time. So if you would just raise your hand. This is public comment with regards to the introduction of the 2020 municipal budget. And before we do that, Sandy, could you just walk us through the remaining steps in this process? And unmute first.
So if the governing body proceeds with introduction of the budget tonight, as I said, copies will be available as soon as tomorrow. Contact Erica at Borough Hall. We'll get anybody as many copies as they want of the budget. I think the preferable method, as I said, would be to email a PDF copy. But by all means, if somebody wants a hard copy, we'll certainly get those out to them. On the 14th of July, right now, is the scheduled date for the public hearing on the budget. 10 days prior to that public hearing, this budget will be advertised in the CoStar. And as I said, after the public hearing of the budget on the 14th, we'll have a resolution. It is kind of normal practice for you to have the budget hearing and then the adoption of the budget immediately following that on the agenda for that night. That's the procedure, barring any amendments that we might have to make to the budget. I sitting here tonight, I don't foresee any amendments to be made to the budget, but you never know. So, we'll proceed on that course.
Okay, and just to clarify, I think we advertised in both the CoStar and the Coaster. So,
Yes.
okay. David, if you would referee any public comments, please.
Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thomas Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. Ms. Royce, this is a really impressive document that you put together. I think it's a great template to even work farther from under the conditions. I just had a couple questions. Do you know what the 2019 sewer surplus increase is?
I don't have it in front of me, but I'm going to defer to our auditor. He may have that in number, and I see him rifling through some papers. I think he might have it in.
Yeah, the sewer surplus went from $1,764,000 to $2,007,000. So it grew by 240 some odd $1,000.
Sure, and that's in 1 year.
1 year, right?
1 year, okay. Yeah, I've been very protective of the sewer surplus. I'm not real happy with the $200,000 offset, which was proposed. I'd like to propose something simpler for the public. I believe Ms. Rice said that the former EE salary, the former employee, the former administrator was approximately $180,000, which was going to be paid this year out of general. Is that true?
Right.
Yes.
We're allocating that in the current fund budget. Yes.
But I mean, would it be possible for us to take that 180 out of the sewer just for that purpose? This way the public knows it's a one-off. I'm based on my research, that money will have to be paid next year until approximately August of 2021. So we could use the same concept next year, and the public could then track that money and say, okay, it's a one-off for 220 to 21, and then it's over. I'd really like to see less money taken from the sewer, and I am very excited about the reduction that you proposed. Apparently it's like a 22% reduction on our single unit sewer, which is very substantial.
So the amount of money that I'm allocating for the former employee's salary is 180. I've taken 200,000, Mr. Cohen, from the sewer utility. So I think the governing body will agree that that $20,000 extra to help us offset the current fund taxes is a negligible amount.
And I think if I might, by doing that, by putting that 180 in the sewer budget, I think we'd be defeating what our purpose really is in trying to get the current fund budget right.
Sure,
accomplishing the same thing. And I mean, I'd be hard pressed to explain to somebody why a sewer utility is picking up 100% of the termination pay and benefits of a former employee.
But see, this is your first year here, and over we've had money, I believe, pilfered from the sewer in terms of all the employees that have been paid, employees, insurance that has been paid from it, no tracking of employee time. I've done multiple Oprahs on this, and we've done minimal work on this sewer over the term. We've done one sewer improvement program when we still have probably, I guess, 6 more to do. So millions of dollars have been taken from that account under the guise that we've kept the taxes level, when you really haven't. You've charged us way more per unit per sewer, and now you want to take that money and use it for taxes. It's 2 separate things in my mind. The state may say you can do it, but I don't believe it's fair to the taxpayers. I'm very excited to see the reduction in the unit rate, but I'm still not happy about the fact that we keep going to this well and utilizing this money that's really set aside for improvements to our 100-year-old sewer system.
Yeah, but with all due respect, I think we're talking about the same thing. Whether if you get rid of the 200,000 of surplus going as revenue and then move the appropriation into the sewer, you're going to appropriate $200,000 more of sewer surplus in order to offset the 180,000 that you're putting back in the sewer budget. So you really, at the end of 2020, the sewer surplus is going to be exactly what it would have been under either method. And I think this is more transparent to have this former employee's expenses paid out of the budget and just using the sewer surplus. And by the way, there's a specific statute that allows the town to take the surplus of a utility that they own.
Oh, I totally understand. But, the state makes the rules and, their situation is not much better. I don't believe it's fair to the taxpayers.
No, actually, your situation here in Bradley Beach is a zillion times better than the situation of the state. And that was before the pandemic.
Yeah. Well,
So again, I believe this is more transparent to do it this way because we have a revenue that shows 200,000. We know the appropriations in the budget, and we know 1/1/21 starting off the budget process that 180 goes away. Therefore, the need for the 200,000 goes away in a perfect world.
Well, that's where we want to get to. But then again, we still have to pay that employee till August of 2021. So we're still going to be into that expenditure next year.
Okay, any other, I'm sorry, we are enforcing the 5-minute time limit, so next public comment.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
We have Marianne Spillman.
Okay, thank you, David. I have a question about this ex-employee payout. Is that for one employee? And why are we paying an employee that's no longer working?
I'm going to refer to Greg Cannon on that, our borough attorney.
So the borough has certain retirement benefits payable to employees depending on when they were employed or began being employed by the borough. This is, I assume, forgive me, Madam CFO, this is identified as a line item in the budget.
Excuse me, Greg?
Is that identified as a line item in the? I don't want to talk about employees.
It is
a question addressed to a line item in the budget reserved for employee retirement benefits.
It is just an addition to administrator salary and wages and clerk's salary and wages, an increase to that appropriation to account for the former employee. It is not a specific line item in the budget.
Okay, so without getting into the specifics of any particular employee situation, an employee is entitled to a retirement benefit and the CFO is reserving the money to pay that. You can certainly divulge the employee's name to who that money is due and payable to, because it's an obligation of the borough and the public certainly obligated to know. But obviously the terms and conditions that employees in employment, leaving, suspension, or however they left, is not to be discussed. So if you can, Madam CFO, you're allowed to say to whom the names of the people to who that money's due, because that's an obligation, a contractual obligation of the borough, but nothing else.
Okay. The allocation would be for our former administrator and clerk, Kelly Barrett.
Okay, so this is not something that this is not a retirement benefit that all employees get. It's a special allocation, is that right?
Greg, I'm sorry to keep deferring.
But there's an ordinance under which, no, that's okay. There's an ordinance under called a terminal leave ordinance in the borough. So for that particular employee, that ordinance was applicable and was applied accordingly. And that's the payout. All is a very difficult word for a lawyer to answer. I believe that most employees in the borough are entitled to this benefit, but some are now capped because the ordinance was changed after certain employees worked. So employees are entitled to various benefits depending upon when they started working and when the council has progressively capped the benefit. So I can't answer for all. All employees are entitled to some kind of retirement benefit, but they're different depending upon when they started and when the council changed various ordinances.
Yeah, Marianne?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We changed some of the ordinances and regulations over the last 3 years. This is unpaid sick and vacation time that's been accrued. For employees who've been here for 25 years, it's a significant amount. But it's not going to happen moving forward. It's been capped.
Okay, so this is not something we're going to see
No,
beyond
this is the end of a practice that has really ended up badly for a lot of municipalities. We're actually getting off real easy. I don't know if you remember, but I believe it was Keensburg, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. They had somebody retire and take around $700,000. So this has been something that's been changing in the state of New Jersey slowly, unfortunately, for the last, 5-10 years.
Okay, will it show up then as employee retirement benefits rather than ex-employee payout? So we know that.
I don't know that that really makes a difference, what you name it. The dollar amount's not going to change.
No, but the idea that it's going to be recurring as people retire will make a difference. This is a one-time, or it's an obligation for retiring all retiring employees.
So I could
Yes,
maybe
and I think-
answer that question more specifically, Councilman. So for Ms. Spillman's benefit, I think her question is like, when are we going to know this is going to happen and you're not paying people and we don't know? The answer is we will be adopting, at least the policy going forward, will be to adopt a resolution accepting individual employees' retirement and stating their benefits in that resolution. So if you check the subject employee, in this case's resolution, it indicates terminal leave benefit. So whether you classify it as a retirement benefit or not, it will be transparently put in the resolution of the person's retirement what they're entitled to. That's how you'll know who's entitled to it and who isn't. And then the reserve, the CFO will be keeping, as her and the auditor had mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
That's it, Mayor.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to introduce the 2020 municipal budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Brunel?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
You're muted, Al.
Randy?
Yes, for Gubatose.
Thank you. Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes, thank you. Resolution 2020-144 authorizes a salary increase for seasonal employees for the Department of Public Works. Make a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Brunel?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Yes, and finally, Resolution 2020-145 is temporarily suspending enforcement of certain provisions of the Borough Code to assist local businesses reopening following the COVID-19 crisis and the borough's recovery therefrom. Greg, could you walk us through this resolution, please? Hello, Greg.
Hey, Greg, we don't, oh,
Sorry about that. I have to go to the bathroom sometimes too.
TMI.
Sorry, I had to step away for a minute. You're asking about the reopening resolution, correct?
Yes, please.
Sure. So as you're all aware, the governing body puts forward Executive Order 150, which authorizes outdoor dining and non-essential retail to reopen as of June 15th. The paragraphs 5 and 6 of that and contemplate outdoor spaces that weren't previously used into these business uses. So paragraphs 5 and 6 of that executive order require municipalities that are administering a process for businesses to go outside to equitably divide the space and to create a process essentially for that. So Resolution 145 creates that process. Terms are relatively self-explanatory. Dave and I chose to use the existing special events permits process because it's very thorough as to public safety and all the other factors that we'll be looking at. It's also an existing process that has been legally vetted. So that will help us. in this unprecedented time. And the provisions are pretty straightforward. The administrator, along with the professional team, will review the applications and try to quote unquote equitably divide space and time and everyone and the businesses accordingly.
Great. I know that Dave has been working on this. John has been working on this. Tim has been working on this. I've been working on this in various ways, and either working with you, Greg, or in reaching out to businesses. The message that we want to send is come to us, think outside the box. We want to do everything we can logistically and financially and anything else to make it work for you. We know that businesses, especially restaurants, have been clobbered over the last 3 months, and we want to help you succeed. So we've been working through Paula Gavin and the Business Alliance to send that message, and we hope that our friends in the media that are with us tonight will also help spread that message to all the businesses in Bradley that we are going to be reopening, and we are looking at assisting that effort in any way possible. Any other council comments on this before we take a vote?
Yes, I had a couple of questions for Mr. Cannon.
Sure.
So number one, my compliments to anyone who worked on this, because I can only imagine what a challenging undertaking this was. I did my best to read through section 8, where you linked probably a couple dozen ordinances. So thank you very much just for the very thorough effort used in pulling this together. I had 3 specific questions though. One, the consistent use of the word temporarily or temporary in terms of the amount of time this ordinance will be in effect. Is it tied directly to a state of emergency, or is there any definition, clarity we can add?
It's tied to Executive Order 150. I mean, that's where all the authority comes from, and that's how it's going to be governed. So as long as the governor says it's in place, essentially.
And 150, is that the state of emergency, or specifically what is that referencing?
Well, so the state of emergency is the blanket overarching authority for the governor to tell us all these special circumstances. However, the executive orders guide the specific regulations that we're putting in place. So this is 5 and 6 of EO 150. So until those are superseded, this will be in place. That's the short answer.
Okay, and when that's superseded, so I guess both sides of that equation, when that's superseded, do these, this expanded dining facilities, do they cease? Or is that, is that directly tied to this? And if we wanted to terminate this before 150, Executive Order 150 ceases, can we do that outside of creating a new ordinance?
Forgive me, Councilman, could you say that one more time for me?
Yeah,
Outside a new ordinance.
I'm trying to understand the definitiveness of the time period that this will be in place. And for the most part, all I could come up with was temporary, right? Temporarily. And you mentioned it's more or less tied to Executive Order 150. My question is, if we wanted to decouple it from 150 for any reason, we wanted to stop this practice sooner, or we wanted to extend this practice beyond 150's expiration, do we have the ability to do that absent creating a new ordinance? Or is this definitively tied to Executive Order 150?
This is definitively tied to Executive Order 150, but you could, of course, as with anything, you could extend this sort of operation by ordinance, or you could extend the interpretation of your special events permits if that was
Okay,
the governing body.
so to be clear, if we do nothing when Executive Order 150 is terminated, this seating will terminate automatically.
Yes.
Okay.
By the terms of the resolution as written, yes.
I wanted to be clear. Thank you. My second question is, there's reference in section 3 to cooperation, that merchants can cooperate to share space or whatever. I didn't see anywhere in the ordinance about us limiting their ability to interfere with one another. So for example, let's say they choose not only to not cooperate, but one merchant, one outdoor seating is actually infringing upon this, I don't know, the traffic into another's business. Is there anything in this ordinance that would at least refrain, cause that the vendor who's interfering to refrain from that interference?
Generally, I mean, not specifically, but EO 5, the executive order contemplates essentially a cooperation, or we can revoke the permit. I mean, that's the ultimate remedy. If you're causing trouble on the streets and causing people to go out in the streets because you're blocking traffic or playing games, we're just going to revoke the permit. I mean, this is, and I can see Dave nodding. I
know.
I mean, in short, and I don't mean to be like, seem like I'm dodging or not have the exact answer to your question. The answer is there's no legal precedent for this. So
right. I guess
it's been left to our discretion under that executive order 5 and 6, the paragraphs 5 and 6 of 150, and so that's how we set it up.
And I would think that any application we get that goes beyond their own footprint, we would want to get some assurance from their neighboring business that they're okay with that.
Well, the executive order requires written permission of the property owner, whether it's your landlord or whether it's an adjacent property owner, whether it's municipality, for the ABC permits, and then extends that, and that's part of our regulations as well for special events.
So I know there was a restaurant or a business owner who raised this issue in our last meeting, that the use of a parking lot for tents is going to really, put that much more of a burden perhaps on street parking. That lack of street parking would limit his business from doing takeout orders. And so there's no overt violation, there's no overt infringement. But I guess my question is, can we include wording that would say, maybe it's under this cooperation clause, can we add a sentence that says cooperation means either working together to jointly offer or to make sure one is not infringing upon the business of another? Because I don't see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's implicitly understood. You're treating everyone equal. If you're a business and you have a complaint, we're going to try to resolve it. The only way we're not going to be able, so for example, that on-street parking thing, if the gentleman who wants curbside pickup, and we'll clear the two spaces in front of his business to do curbside. That's part of the executive order as well. 122. There's a number of executive orders that address that curbside issue. And
all right.
Do that.
All right.
I guess my point is,
well, I know
implicit.
If you say so, I know.
Is no problem.
Normally, when you draft legislation, I just like to anticipate, potential conflicts like that. My third question is more of a legalese question. In section 7, where we talk about the ability to obtain a permit and provide all of the requirements, I didn't see anything in there, and maybe I overlooked it, but should there be anything in there asking the person who's applying for the permit to release the borough of liability if they're utilizing borough property at all, sidewalks, alleys, whatever? Should we request the release of liability?
I think the special events ordinance has that in there. We requested insurance.
Yeah,
we could put that in there, and I think it's in David's form application as well. As a practical matter, if someone falls on one of these places on a public sidewalk, they're going to sue the borough and the business. So the insurance is more important than the indemnification, but I believe that's already included in both.
Yeah, we'd have to be named on the insurance, and they probably would also have to sign a hold harmless agreement as well. But
I think it's part of the
right. We can sign 8 million documents, and they're still going to sue us, and then we'll have to just go through the motion to get us excused from the lawsuit.
Yeah, so it's in the form that Dave created that underlies this resolution, the indemnification, hold harmless. But as a practical matter, my advice is I'm not sure it makes any difference to keep us from getting sued. But
understood, we can always be sued. Just want to put in as many appropriate caveats as we can. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-145 and thank everyone who helped put this together in an expedited period of time. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Brunel?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Oh, yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes, now is the time for mayor and council reports. Council President Weber?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I get going on my report, I have a couple of questions that I guess I'll throw them out as questions, maybe rhetorical questions now. I didn't want to ask a question at every resolution that we passed earlier in the meeting. I would like to know how many of our gate guards speak Spanish, and how many of our lifeguards speak Spanish. If we don't have somebody on the phone that can answer that, let's leave that out there. And then just keep an eye towards, hiring folks. I just think that's a great skill. So maybe we can keep an eye towards hiring folks like that in the future. Okay. For environmental stuff, just want to remind everybody, Plastic Film Recycling Day is tomorrow. I think we made some efforts to communicate this program out to, there's a lot of summer residents. People may recall we started this program in November. So there's a whole lot of people in town that have no idea that we were going to recycle plastic film on the second Wednesday with a little white pail in front of their house. Did we renew efforts to reach out to folks, and what were those efforts around this? I guess that's a question for David.
He is telling me he does not have an answer for you right now.
Okay, so if it hasn't happened, hopefully we can make it happen again. I just, think there's a whole lot of people in town that don't know we're doing this. So, but for everybody else, remember tomorrow's the day to recycle your plastic film. On tree news, we have a tree seedling giveaway is happening in Riley Park at the band shell for the next few days. You can go and just get free tree seedlings. Now, these are seedlings. These are tiny. This is not a tree with a big root ball, but nonetheless, they're free. People are encouraged to go get. You can get up to 6. They're native or acclimated species that should do well in this climate. So go make yourself available to those. On the beachfront, junior lifeguards, as my understanding, is canceled. So no junior lifeguards this year. Obviously, with a lot of other things to consider, it's unfortunate, but it's what they had to do. The Environmental Commission had a meeting with our new member, including our new member, Liz Hernandez. We did get our Sustainable Jersey Fellow that I talked about for the last couple of meetings. It's a master's student, and he's going to help with energy audits in town and things of that nature. David and I already had a Zoom meeting with this young man named Brandon, so that's really good news there. I will say that Councilman Sexsmith and myself met with the First Aid Department, and they are requiring a mutual aid agreement with Neptune. So in the case that our folks can't respond, Neptune seems to be a better choice for responding, and I'll leave it at that. Maybe Tim has more to say about that. And I think that is it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Sexsmith.
Just to follow up on what Councilman Weber said, the First Aid Squad and Neptune are still working out their agreement, which is why it's not on the agenda this evening. I fully expect to see that on the agenda at the next meeting. Other than that, though, I'm going to forego my usual liaison reports because I'd like to discuss the agenda tonight. There are 6 resolutions on the agenda that in all the time I've spent attending council meetings I've never seen before. And all of them have to do with either hiring seasonal employees or salary increases for our regular employees. When I ran for this seat, people would ask me all the time why I was running, and my response was always the same, that the town just didn't seem like it was being run properly, and that nothing would make me happier than to realize that I was wrong. Unfortunately, tonight's agenda demonstrates that the town has not been run properly. Summer hires and salary changes were being handled with a phone call, a wink, and a nod. Not once, to the best of my knowledge, were these types of resolutions brought before the governing body for public discussion and review. I applaud our new CFO and our new BA for uncovering these highly questionable practices and putting a stop to them. Unfortunately, I don't think this will be the last time that I get to make this speech at a council meeting, however. Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilmember Gubitosi. Can't hear you.
Now you're muted.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I'll get these mutes down sooner or later.
This is it. Last one we're going to do like this.
Hopefully, yes.
Yep.
Sylvan Lake Commission. There have been concerns over the past few weeks, numerous people questioning the water levels of the lake. They had significantly subsided, and many people know from earlier council meetings, we had commissioned work to be done on Sylvan Lake, specifically to fix the gate and the flume on the far east side. That required us to reduce the water levels. Work was done, completed. These are repairs that needed to be done for close to 2 decades. Supervised by our town borough engineer as well as Avon's engineer, and with a lot of guidance from the wildlife organizations. The final result is the work was completed. We now have a functioning gate, which is phenomenal news. The wildlife seem to have been minimally disturbed, and basically all seem to be good there. The Sylvan Lake Commission is now looking at protecting the lake from algae blooms, and we will be meeting very shortly via telecom with members from the commission and Avon to determine the best process for protecting the lake. We're also going to invite to that call the environmentalists who we've reported in earlier meetings are looking at a broader lake restoration plan that, if it's approved and if we secure funding, would probably occur in 2021. But we're trying to coordinate with those individuals now to make sure whatever we do now to protect the lake from the algae blooms is consistent with the much broader project that we envision in, next year. The community center, which is also known as the Methodist Church, conducted a walkthrough for that task force last Saturday on June 6th. And it gave us all a chance to just inspect the inside of the church. I think it'd be an understatement to say that it's desperately in need of work. There's an awful lot of work ahead of us. The one thing I think we've all agreed on, and I know, Mr. Mayor, you'll be following up on this specifically, is we do want to make sure we secure any protections from water infiltration, because historically there has been damage from water, rainwater getting through the roof in particular, and we want to make sure we secure the building fairly quickly. Reporting from the Finance Committee, obviously there's been a tremendous amount of focus on creating the budgets that were introduced this evening. I want to commend Ms. Rice as well as our BA David Brown for the work they've done specifically on that. And as others alluded to, they in the course of getting their arms around our financial management, they've identified various opportunities to strengthen controls around cash transactions at the beach. They've been, I know Ms. Rice in particular has been working very closely with our new auditors, and we've all seen great progress in this space. And I hope within the next month, Ms. Rice, you might be able to provide a full CFO report to our residents. And that concludes my reports. Thank you.
Councilmember Bennell.
All right, I would mirror what my other 3 co-council members have said. And the DPW has been busy in the last couple of weeks. They have planted over 250 flats of flowers. They removed a couple of trees on Main Street, threw some things up. They did some mulch. If anybody hasn't noticed, they spent quite a bit of time converting the showers on the beach, which were a big topic of discussion before Memorial Day, into touchless operations, which was not something that happened quickly. And they're doing an outstanding job. That's the end of my report.
So just some quick news from the school. With school done, unfortunately, there are certain activities that would be taking place this time of year that they're going to be doing in a different way. One of them is the field day. Field day lives on. They're inviting folks to join on June 16th for the annual Bradley Beach School Field Day virtual style. And there's the understanding that many people are juggling work, family, school, and many more responsibilities. And the hope is that folks can schedule a little time on Tuesday the 16th for fun family time and help make your child's virtual field day memorable. So it'll consist of 15 challenges. Most challenges will take about 1 to 5 minutes to complete. Some challenges will need items found around the house, and some of them will be more challenging than others. Pick the 7 best that work for you and your family. And the field day would not be complete without relay races. There is guidance to include a few races that can be done with the entire family. So we hope that folks, and it's obviously meant for the students and their families, but everyone can go on to the school website and see what the activities are. The other one is obviously the graduation. And the superintendent is excited to report that students and staff have worked diligently over the past weeks to develop an online virtual graduation to celebrate the graduating class of 2020. And that virtual graduation will be released to the community for viewing on June 16th, a week from today at 7 p.m. It'll be presented in both English and Spanish. It'll be released on YouTube. And the links for the videos will be accessible from the school website and can be shared with family and friends. So we want to thank everybody to help make that take place. And an update from the library. As many of you know, the library is currently under an executive order to be closed. And initially, the library was included with museums in phase 2 of the plan to reopen the state. But after a recent COVID-19 briefing, it appears libraries have moved to phase 3. This is yet to be updated on the phase documents. Libraries also received guidance from the New Jersey State Library stating we are not permitted to allow curbside pickup of library materials at this time. As with the state, the library will have a phased reopening plan to prepare for the new adjustments necessary to accommodate their patrons. While the library is closed, patrons can hold on to their materials until they request them back. No fines or fees are accruing during the library's closure. The library, in the meantime, they are and have been available virtually. Their website and Facebook page have a number of resources for information, ways to access their virtual collections and programs. Their 2020 summer reading program available to children and adults has also moved virtually. And for most current information, you can go to the Bradley Beach website. And I'll just echo what Councilmember Bunnell said. What Public Works has been dealing with this summer is unheard of, and they've come through fantastically. Town looks great as usual, and thank them for a ton of work that was not on their original schedule, and they've come through with flying colors. At this time is for public comment on any issues, and we will be enforcing the 5-minute time limit. David?
First up is Paul Champion.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to make an announcement for the Bradley Beach Historical Society. We have a virtual Zoom meeting, an event this Sunday at 3 p.m. Robert Flood, a longtime Bradley Beach resident, will be doing a presentation on the early Bradley Beach Police Department days from before the founding in 1893 to up to about 1920. It should be an interesting presentation. Again, Sunday at 3 p.m. You can find the Zoom contact information on our website, bbhistory.org, and also on our Facebook page and other social media. And secondly, I wanted to thank the mayor and Borough Administrator Brown for doing the walkthrough of the Methodist Church this last Saturday, and for adding the public members to the task force. I'm hoping now that we can sit down together and start planning. I realize we're not going to be spending money yet, but we need to do the planning so that we can start applying for grants. And I thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paul.
Next up, we have Ms. Greenblatt Jano.
Hi there, Shauna Greenblatt Janoff, 414 Monmouth Avenue. I have actually two sets of questions, so I'll ask the first set, and then I'll, after there's some feedback, I'll follow with the second. Regarding COVID-19 and the impact on our summer beach, can you talk about the process of how we're monitoring density and as the days are getting hotter? And I know today, in fact, a midweek beach day the beach was quite crowded, and how, what the process is effectively for how we're monitoring the beach entries, where the beach badges are being sold, the number of the daily passes that we're selling, and so forth. I imagine that we're going to try and stay on top of this so we can always be ahead of it. And along with that, the number of current active cases of COVID in Bradley Beach at this point, as well as Monmouth County, if we can get that information. As I understand, the numbers are going up as we're coming out. And I read something in NJ.com that indicated that Neptune actually had the greatest increase in the state of New Jersey. Can someone answer that?
Yeah, David, if you would take what our steps are with regards to social distancing and monitoring of the number of folks on the beach.
Yeah, basically we're relying on data. We have a few data point sets. We have the gate guards are holding counters to monitor those coming onto the beach. We're monitoring our sales, daily badges. We have a first set of 1,500 that go out. We then take a look at our beach capacity and how many people are on the beach. We then will release the second wave of another 1,000. And we're thinking this weekend, if the numbers are low, like they have been, we will then release maybe a third wave of daily badges. But the daily badges all equal to how many bodies are on the beach. Our range is about approximately 10,000, which is 50% of a maximum capacity of 20,000. We also take an hourly count starting at 11 a.m. to about 4 or 5 p.m. We get an hourly count from each booth and each gate.
Are you seeing greater density where beach daily sales are?
No, we're seeing it pretty much crossed out. We had one issue where we were selling the Vipley badges, and that beach was lower because there were no dailies being sold there. So that beach was very much lower than the other beaches, but we're making an adjustment there this weekend for that.
So we have where we've had to, we haven't had a point where we've had to halt sales to.
No, we've only reached
away?
7,000, no more than 8,000 people on these past couple of weekends.
Right. I mean, clearly the weather's becoming more summery. So I imagine we're going to see that. So do you have information on the number of cases in Bradley Beach, the increase and so forth? And
Yes, I do. The numbers, Bradley Beach has two numbers. One is the cumulative number of cases thus far. And according to the county, that number is 54. And there are currently 11 active cases in Bradley Beach.
So is that an increase? Is that a decrease? What are we seeing? Any idea? And same with Monmouth County. I think that's pretty relevant for us.
Well, Monmouth County is almost bottomed out. For example, I'm looking at the latest press release from Director Freeholt's office. 29 new cases as of on a daily basis, which is extremely low. I really can't. I have the chief here. He tells me that our numbers are coming down. Again, the 54 number is a cumulative number since this whole thing began. I can't address neighboring towns such as Neptune, but that's where we are.
Okay, so I imagine though, the borough is going to be very mindful of these numbers because they're all very important relative to, the increase in people, coming closer to, in contact with one another.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. And if there's a way to update on the borough website this information, so residents are aware of what's going on with the beach, that would be very helpful. I've kind of avoided the beach, and I'd like to hit the beach, I'm more inclined to go during the week than on the weekends. So, information is always very helpful.
So if I could, just- David, isn't this is on the borough website, correct? All this information that you just, like the beach rules that we went over a couple weeks ago, that's on the borough website, correct?
Wait a minute. I've got two things going on here, John. I didn't hear a word you said.
Okay.
The timer went off.
Ms. Janoff is asking if, looking for information on the beach rules and everything like that, and I'm asking if that's on the borough website. I believe it is.
Yes, it's currently there.
Right, that's not actually what I'm referring to. I'm referring to updated numbers. I'm referring to the actual effective management, what we're seeing, the trends, who exactly is taking on the role of doing it, because it's quite a task to follow numbers along the mile of beachfront.
So, well, if you mean numbers, if you're number of cases, the county puts that out. Okay, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Attendance on the beach, density on the beach, how it's being managed. I'm asking those questions which are not in the guidelines.
Okay, so David answered that. David answered that.
Yeah, but she's looking for it on a daily basis, and unfortunately that's just not going to happen. That's happening between my office, the management of the beach staff, and OEM and the police department, and we are looking at those things by the hour and making decisions by the hour. And that's just not going to make it to the website in a timely
No, that's not what I'm asking. Actually, I'm asking for a somewhat regular update, not a daily update. A weekly update, or just a set of the trends that we see, to communicate with borough residents about how the beach is actually being managed, so we don't have to rely on social media for that.
Okay, so
and I'm not challenging that, but I'm now giving it every 2 weeks. In my BA report, I mentioned the entire beach operation today, and I plan on doing that in the future as well.
We have very few people on this call right now, so
My BA report is also posted on the website under Borough Administrator Reports.
okay, so when it's related to COVID, it would be useful to put it under COVID. I'm simply trying to simplify.
This is going to be under BA report because that's how we dubbed this whole
Okay.
thing. It's under my BA report. It's there.
I know that I'm over my 5 minutes. I have one other question. Do I have permission to ask?
Let's give everyone else a chance and then I'll come back to you, okay?
Okay, fine.
All right.
Okay, we have Mary Ann Spillman.
Thank you, David. As I'm sure you know, I'm opposed to the Salt restaurant proposal. And I want to be sure that we all understand whenever we are, as a borough, subsidizing any of the expenses related to that proposal. Specifically, I know that their architect did not want to attend the planning board session unless he was paid, and I want to know, did we pay him? And our engineer is working with the applicants on getting them ready for CAFRA approval, and I want to know if our engineer is being paid for that.
The answer to the question, no one's been paid for the planning board because the only one that attended on behalf of the borough was Greg Cannon, the borough attorney. And I was there as their Zoom operator, but I wasn't there in my official capacity. And I didn't get paid for it either. And no, Mr. Frieda, our borough engineer, hasn't been paid for any work yet either.
I was asking about their architect, the applicant's architect that did not want to attend the planning board session unless he was paid.
Can I just clarify that if the architect did attend, he wouldn't be paid by the town?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not under.
He asked to be paid by the town. Was he paid by the town?
No.
I'm not even sure what you're talking. That's probably prior to me coming here, but no, he has not been paid by the town.
Okay, he asked for that and said he didn't want to come to the planning board session unless he was paid by the town. So that's what I just wanted to be sure there was no wink and a nod and that went through. Okay, thank you.
But just
He
so
was
you're
not
clear,
paid.
that wouldn't be possible anyway.
Why would that not be possible?
He doesn't work for us.
Doesn't work for us, yeah.
He works for the applicant. The applicant pays.
Oh, I understand that fully. I understand that fully. That's why I'm asking, was he paid by us as he requested?
Absolutely not.
No.
Thank you.
David.
Okay, Paul and the champion.
Thank you, David. I want to follow up on Shanna's question about the count. Today was the warmest day, the best day of the summer so far. I know it was crowded. Parking spaces were gone in my block by mid-afternoon, which doesn't usually happen except on really good weekends. And obviously there are no badge checkers during the week until the 18th of June. So how are we counting on these weekdays?
Well, we have the lifeguards down there as well as the police department is monitoring the situation during the weekdays.
But are they counting as accurately as the badge checkers would during the weekends?
I probably would have to honestly say they probably are not.
I just hope that we have a real handle on it because this is going to happen, during the next, until the 18th. We're not really going to have people really with clickers counting people. And we may have another day like this and we may be completely inundated.
And we will handle it appropriately, and we're prepared to. We don't want to, but if we have to shut the beach down, we will.
Thank you.
Mr. Cohen.
Sure. I still have some questions related to the budget. Is the auditor still on the line? Thomas Cohen, 612 3rd Avenue.
He is not. He is not still on the line.
Ms. Rice, maybe you can answer this for me. I've mentioned before that, we have approximately $2.2 million in surplus before the election year of 2019, when nearly $1 million of that surplus was utilized. My question is, I keep getting different answers. Are we back to that $2.2 million number now?
In the sewer utility?
No, in the general fund.
No, we are not.
Do you know what that number is currently?
Yes, it's 1.8 million.
1.8. So we're, well below again, I'm estimating my number based upon my notes, but I was right around 2.2. Would that be accurate in 2018 before the 2019 year?
I'd have to go back and I can certainly communicate that with you when I have the audits and the annual financial statements in front of me. I don't have it in front of me right now, Mr. Cohen.
Okay, I'm sure. And then I was wondering, the $41,000 for the public relations tourism director, is that in this current budget?
Excuse me?
The $41,000 for the public relations tourism position?
It is appropriated in this year's budget.
It has been appropriated, okay, but there's no job description yet? There's no salary ordinance for that position?
It's a nasty pitch. David, I'll defer to you on that because I believe that person was hired by resolution and I know that she is working, so.
But you have to go back. There's too many things going on. I had a sound problem, a question from outside. I missed what was going on.
I was referencing the $41,000. Ms. Rice confirmed that it's in the budget for the public relations tourism position.
Oh, yes. What about that position?
Well, that person has not been hired yet, though, have they? That was a COVID.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay. And there is no salary ordinance for that position or job description at this point?
No, I'm working on all the above.
Okay, great. And that would have to be approved by resolution, would it not?
Yes, and the salary ordinance is an ordinance.
That would be great. I did want to, compliment Public Works for Main Street. They did hang the banners and mulch, and I just would like to see if we could get that into a pre-Memorial Day schedule, Mr. Brown.
I think that's the intent, and honestly, with everything going on, I think we'll have that under better handle next year.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. They did a very nice job, and I appreciated your report tonight, sir. I waited a long time to get those business administrator reports, and they're much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a Cindy.
Hi, I'd just like to get clarification. At the previous council meeting, it was suggested that possibly the tape on the benches on the boardwalk be removed. Has there been any further consideration to removing the tape from the benches on the boardwalk so people could sit if they're walking?
We cannot remove the tape due to the executive order requires either the benches be totally removed so no one can sit there, or they have to be taped up. And the borough chose to tape them up in accordance with the executive order. Okay, up next we have Ms. Greenblatt Janoff again.
Okay.
Hi there, Shauna Greenblatt, Janoff, 414 Monmouth Avenue. In light of the issues of social justice that we're dealing with right now, I do see, Mayor, and thank you for posting some information about your perspective on this as Mayor of Bradley Beach. I saw your statement on Instagram. I haven't seen it elsewhere. I don't know if it's been out there on social media beyond.
I've given that to Amy Hall, who handles all our social media. So I know it was on a few of the platforms. So I just pass it on to her, and she takes it from there. So.
So my question is, as a community, I'm wondering if we can share similar information on our borough website. And I guess this is a question to Mayor and Council to get some feedback from you on that, so we can stand up for justice as a Bradley Beach community.
Okay, I will put that statement. I'll change my mayor's message to reflect that, and also the comments I made at the beginning of tonight's meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. David, anything else?
That's it, Mayor. No more electronic hands.
Make a motion to close the meeting. Well, before I do that, David, you did say that this should be the last time we do a Zoom meeting, and that how exactly do you expect this to work in Borough Hall going forward?
Great question, Mayor. I will need a little bit of time on that because I haven't even had a chance to speak to the chief yet, but we'll have to social distance in Borough Hall. We can't have more than 50 participants. All participants must wear a mask. And if just allow us to review the actual executive order, because I got that all off of a news article. I don't want to depend on a news article. I really need to get my hands on the executive order for all the details.
Okay, thank you. I didn't mean to surprise you with that question, but this hopefully is our last time doing this like this. I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
Second.
Aye.
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 Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.